Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Armageddon. Today is day one of the Arena Open. So this is a 2-day event on Arena where you can win cash prizes if you make it to day two. This is going to be my first time trying the Arena Open. I usually work Sundays, so I rarely ever get to participate in the Arena Open because I can never participate on day two. But it works out that I'll be able to participate this weekend, so I'm looking forward to trying it. Day one is sealed, and then day two is 2 traditional Bloomborough drafts with best of 3 matches using sideboards and individual timers. And we tried a seal Bloomborough event yesterday, and I think what we learned from it is that Bloomborough sealed is a pretty bomb important format. So you really have to hope you open the right bombs. Now, that was admittedly a small sample size, so maybe we shouldn't take too much away from it, but that was certainly the impression that I got. We had some pretty good cards, but we definitely got out-bombed. Anyway, as you can see from the win track, the Arena Open is kind of unforgiving. You need to get at least 5 wins just to get a reward of any kind. This is the best of 1. So you can get up to 3 match losses. So it's a little more forgiving than the best of 3 traditional Arena Open. The rewards are quite good if you can get there, and of course you need to get all 7 wins to qualify for day 2. Anyway, so let's see what we open, and we'll go from there. Get our sleeve. All right. So we do get a powerful special guest card, Swords to Plowshares. So Rayford and White will be happy to have that. Unfortunately, I don't like the look of most of the rest of our rares. Blue and red are among the weakest colors in Bloomborough Limited, and we opened 2 blue-red rares, Ral Crackling Wit and Alania Divergent Storm. Festival of Embers basically does nothing. And I had Festival of Embers in a midweek Magic jump-in event, and the only time I had it in hand, I discarded it to another card. Portent of Calamity is a powerful card draw spell, and Seal does tend to be slower, so you can afford to play more cards like this. And it's only 1 blue, so we could potentially splash it in another color deck. Artist Talent could be better in sealed, but I don't think it's very strong. Fountain Port is a fine card for any deck, at least if you're not trying to go too crazy with different color spells. So if we do end up splashing, we might not be able to have Fountain Port, although it does create treasure tokens. Keen-Eyed Curator is very powerful, so we'll have to hope that we have enough green to support it. It is a bit prohibitive mana cost, but if you can get it down on turn 2, it's going to be great for you. Whiskervale Forerunner apparently is not as powerful as you might think. It is good if you can trigger its Valiant ability because you get some card advantage, but you have to have enough creature cards with mana value 3 or less to support it. So we'll have to see what we have in white or in the other color that we play with white if we end up in white. So of the cards that I've opened, the rares anyway, I'm hoping to play Fountain Port, Keen-Eyed Curator, Whiskervale Forerunner, Swords to Plowshares, and maybe splash Portent of Calamity if my fixing allows it. Unless, of course, I end up in blue-red. Now, we'll have to see. The commons in blue and red are not especially strong, so hopefully there's enough uncommon support. So let's find out what we have in our pool. Okay. Okay, so we don't have a lot of white, but what we do have isn't bad. Don't have any token production in white, unfortunately, for seasoned Warren Guard, but we do have the Swords to Plowshares. We only have a handful of creatures with mana value 3 or less for Whiskervale Forerunner. And we only have the Bravekin duo to trigger Valiant, although it is good as a repetitive way of triggering Valiant. So white could be a good secondary color. We could even consider splashing Swords to Plowshares if our fixing allows it. Let's see what our blue looks like. Well, we do have a lot of blue cards. So that does incentivize us, I should say, to be in blue. Dire Downdraft is one of the best blue commons. Plume Escort is fine. Shoreline Looter is actually a good reason to be in blue. It's a powerful card. It only chips in for 1 damage, but being able to loot it first, and then once your graveyard's full, be able to draw cards with it is very strong. Finch Formation, I think, is overpriced. Pearl of Wisdom, I don't think we have very many. I don't see... We have Light Shell Duo as a 4-man otter, and Otterball Antics creates 1/1 blue and red otter creature tokens. But I don't see any other otters in blue. But Pearl of Wisdom is the kind of card that's better in sealed than it is in draft, because games tend to be slower, so card draw is usually better. And we do have Portent of Calamity in blue, which is strong, and which we can splash if we end up going in a different direction. But it must be said that we do have a lot of cards in blue, so we might get pulled into blue. We'll see. Not a lot of black. Unfortunately, the best cards in black in this pool are not really splashable. Stargaze and Consumed by Greed are both double black. Stargaze is a powerful card draw effect. Consumed by Greed is a strong instant speed removal spell. But they're hard to splash. Scales of Shale, that's fine even outside of Lizards. But from what we've seen so far, it doesn't look like we're especially aggressive. Although giving something indestructible to protect it from removal can be pretty good. We don't have a lot of ways of enabling Moonstone Harbinger, and I don't see a lot of bats. We do have 2 Glide Dive duos, which is fine. Early Winter is clunky, but again might be better in sealed than in draft. Sinister Monolith is, from the 17 lands data, a trap card. There is a fighting chance that it might be better in sealed than in draft, but I think we are not looking to play it at all. So black, very thin. The Glide Dive duos are splashable, and if we're short on removal in whatever colors we end up in, Early Winter is also splashable. So there's that. Alright. Kindle Spark Duo, another trap card. It's just too small ball for what it does. 3 mana for 1/3 is terrible stats. And the 1 damage, you would think it would add up, but it's really too slow. Artist talent will depend on how many non-creature spells. The Kindle Spark Duo does get better with Artist's talent if it's at level 3, because if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. So then the Kindle Spark Duo would be doing 3 damage, which is good. So that's something to keep in mind. It might even be worth, if we end up in red, although red's pretty shallow, if we play the Artist's talent, then Kindle Spark Duo gets a lot better. So does the Steam Path Charger. We have 3 copies of that. That's good as an early play, which you definitely need to have even in sealed. And Steam Path Charger also gets a lot better with a level 3 Artist's talent, because it deals 3 damage when it dies. Take Out the Trash is red's best common, so it's nice to have one. Frilled Spark Shooter. With a Kindle Spark Duo and 3 Steam Path Chargers, Frilled Spark Shooter might actually get there, but I'm not sure. Alania's Pathmaker is a good value play, and Teapot Slinger is also fine. It's good as a menace threat, and then the reach is good too, and it's a lot better than Kindle Spark Duo, dealing 2 damage to each opponent. And again, it benefits from a level 3 Artist's talent. So we do have a number of red cards that work with our Artist's talent, so that's something to keep in mind. Green. Well, unfortunately, we opened 4 copies of Stocking the Pantry, and I don't think I've seen... Oh, there's one long stock brawl, which can give you +1 counter. But I haven't seen any other cards that give +1 counters. So Stocking the Pantry is already a weak card, according to the 17 lands data, and it's looking very bad in our pool. Now, I will say that I'm playing in a sealed league being run by another content creator, and I have Stocking the Pantry in my sealed deck, and it has won me some games. So if you can enable it, I think in sealed, it might be able to get there. But as we've seen from our pool, we don't have the cards to enable Stocking the Pantry, so it's definitely not making the cut. Green is pretty shallow. All of our colors except for blue have been pretty shallow from the looks of it. Heaped Harvest and 3-Tree Rootweaver make it easy to splash. So that's something to be said. 3 copies of Polywallop. I don't think I've seen any frogs. We'll have to see if we have any frogs in the multicolored cards. So it's going to be expensive most of the time, but it is instant speed, and the target creature deals damage equal to twice its power. So it is a powerful effect. Treetop Sentries. Haven't seen a lot of food, although we do have a Baker's Bane duo, which is one of green's best commons. We would like to play Keen-Eyed Curator, although with this low amount of green, it's not likely that we'll be able to get it out on turn 2 very often. Although a 2-mana 3/3 is still fine, and it is still a good late game play because of its ability to exile cards, which you can do at instant speed and multiple times per turn. So if you play it late, let's say you play it on turn 6, you can already get it to be a 4/4 with trample, say at the end of opponent's turn. if you leave the 4 mana up, say along with like a Polywallop. So that's still good. So I think this is a strong enough pull into green that we'll consider being in green. Hivespine Wolverine is a good late game value play. It's a big body, and its 3 abilities are all quite useful. Destroying target artifact or enchantment is particularly important since most of the talent class cards are pretty powerful, so if you can get rid of them, that's really good. And I don't think I've seen a lot of other enchantment removal. We do have the Early Winter in black, so I might just splash Early Winter, whatever color I end up in. Green would have to be one of my 2 main colors if I'm going to play green, because of the double green cards, Hivespine Wolverine and Keen-Eyed Curator. In our colorless, Hidden Grotto, again, probably better in sealed, where splashing is more of a viable option. In draft, you pretty much want to be playing strictly 2-color synergistic decks, unless you're splashing like a Glarb or something like that. But otherwise, 2 colors is what you want to be, whereas in sealed, from what the Lords of Limited podcast has been saying, you can afford to get away with splashing more often. So Hidden Grotto helps with that, and it can filter your mana, so it can help you cast your cards. If we play 2 copies, it does make our spells a bit more expensive. We could consider splashing cards with 2 pips of their color, with 2 Hidden Grottos and a Patchwork Banner. Bumbleflower Sharepot is clunky. It does make a food. We don't have a lot of forage synergies. I think we just had the 2 squirrels that draw a card if you forage when they enter. But it can also destroy any non-land permanent. It could be better than Early Winter. Heirloom Epic, I think, is basically a green-white card. You really only want to be able to use this if you can activate it for cheap. So that means you want to have a lot of creatures that you can tap. Now, activating it only as a sorcery is a major drawback, because that means you can't leave your creatures up as blockers and then draw a card end of turn. So I think that if we're going to do anything, it's going to be dipping into blue for the card draw in blue rather than play Heirloom Epic. Patchwork Banner, I don't think we have a lot of creatures of a given type, but it's still a powerful card, and it ramps and fixes us, so I think it makes the cut. Corpseberry Cultivator, I don't think we have enough forage synergies for it to be good. This is good with stocking the pantry because, in principle, you can enable it every turn at the beginning of combat on your turn by putting a +1/+1 counter on it when you forage. But we don't have any cash grabs in green to fill the graveyard, and we only have a few means of making food. I think just the Baker's Bane duo and the Bumbleflower Sharepot, I should say. So I'm not sure how good Corpseberry Cultivator is. For the same reason, Tide Color Mentor, not looking super strong, because I'm not sure how fast we can fill the graveyard for Threshold unless we play a lot of non-creature spells. Mind Drill Assailant, not a very good card according to the 17 lands data. We've got Ral and Alania, Veteran Guardmouse. I haven't seen many ways of triggering Valiant. Really just the Bravekin duo, so we might not be getting there with the Whiskervale Forerunner. Veteran Guardmouse is fine in white-red, but you really don't want it in any other deck. And I don't think we're going to be white-red based on how shallow our white was and how unsupported Valiant is in our pool. We'll just take another quick look. I don't think I saw any combat tricks. I guess Polywallop enables and Longstock Brawl in green enable Valiant. And Veteran Guardmouse and Whiskervale Forerunner are on the bigger side for creatures in Bloomburrow. Banishing Light is splashable. Whiskervale Forerunner is splashable, although in a deck where you're splashing a lot, you might not have a lot of creatures with mana value 3 or less, or ways to enable Valiant. So I don't know. This is going to be a hard pool to build a deck with, because except for blue, we don't have a lot of cards in any one color. And there are a lot of cards that we could possibly splash. I think we do have to play green if we want to splash, because we have Heaped Harvest and a 3-tree Root Weaver. We could do something like Sultai, again, which is what I did in the other sealed event I played. Although I think that that was a more synergistic deck than this one would turn out to be, because I had a lot more frog synergies. We went 3-3, which is respectable, but as you saw from the trophy track for the Arena Open, 3-3 doesn't get you anything on day one of the Arena Open. So, not sure where to go with this. Green also has the most removal spells in all our colors. Do I have any frogs? I have not a single frog for Polywallop. So it's going to be a 4-mana bite spell all of the time in our deck. Treetop Sentries does have reach, and you do want creatures that can block flyers. For 4 mana, it's kind of small at being a 2/4, and we might not be able to enable Forage consistently well for it. Although Heaped Harvest is a food, Baker's Bane Duo makes a food, and so does Bumbleflower Sharepot. Try saying Bumbleflower Sharepot 3 times fast. Brushshield Rampager is fine as a green common. It's a bigger body. It does have some evasion. So we would have enough cards to make a deck if we go blue-green. And blue-green is the best blue archetype. Splash Portal, not particularly good in our deck. We don't have any frogs. Plumepreed Escort is fine to bounce, but the problem is Splash Portal is a sorcery, and Plumepreed Escort's ability you want to be able to get at instant speed, so that doesn't really work. If Splash Portal for an instant, I think it would be a lot better. It's still good in the Frogs deck, if you have a dedicated Frogs deck, but we don't. We don't have any Frogs, so I think it's not good enough for us. We do have a lot of card draw in blue with 2 Mind Spirals, which are splashable. Pearl of Wisdom is splashable. Portent of Calamity is splashable. So maybe blue is the splash color? Shoreline Looter you want to get down early, so if we splash blue, we might not want to run Shoreline Looter, but it is a powerful enough card that I think I would still consider splashing it. And late in the game, if you draw it late in the game, you might just be able to draw cards with it when you hit your opponent with it. So it is still not a bad draw late in the game. Mind Whisker is good. If you enable Threshold, the -1 power penalty you give your opponent's creatures can be a big deal. Although in my previous sealed event, there was one game where Mind Whisker's ability actually did me in because the opponent had a fecund green shell in play, and with a fecund green shell, anytime a creature with toughness greater than its power enters, you either draw a card or put a land on top of your library into play tapped. And so what happened is that Mind Whisker made it so that all of opponents' creatures had toughness greater than their power. So every time they played a creature, they had fecund green shell in play. They either drew a card or put a land directly into play. So as you can imagine, I lost that game. Fecund green shell, of course, is probably the best rare in the set. Night Whirl Hermit, mediocre. Don't think I'd splash Finch Formation. The only problem with manipulating the deck is that you then have to manually remove all the cards. Alright. I don't think our white cards are strong enough for white to be one of our primary colors. Swords to Plowshares is best early, so it's not the greatest card to splash, but it's still good at any point. So that's a good splash. Banishing Light is a good splash. So those are the splash cards that we could consider from white. In blue, if blue's not one of our main colors, splashing Mind Spiral would be fine. Splashing Dire Downdraft would be fine. Spellgyre, not really good to splash. Light Shell Duo is a fine blue common, but I don't think it is a splash card. Dazzling Denial is only good early, so it's not a good splash card. Could see playing a Plumecrete Escort. Thoughtshucker, not a splash card. Splash Portal, not a splash card. So we'd be looking at 8 cards out of blue that we would be happy to splash. We might not splash all of these if we play any of them. Black. If we did black, green, splash, blue, we could play Stargaze and Consumed by Greed. Otherwise, these are the cards I would consider splashing in black. Red. I don't think there are a lot of cards I'd want to splash. I think red, you'd want it to be one of the main colors. Because I don't think you want to splash Artist's Talent and Kindle Spark Duo and Teapot Slinger. I don't think Kindle Spark Duo is a particularly good splash. And Artist's Talent, you also want to get down early. Steampath Charger, not a good splash. Take Out the Trash could still be fine later, although it's definitely better early. Festival of Embers, you could splash, but why would you want to? I don't think Frilled Spark Shooter is the kind of card you want to splash. Alania's Pathmaker is fine to splash, although if we're playing blue, we probably don't need it. Although a card draw spell effectively that also affects the board is good. Teapot Slinger would be fine to splash. Roughshod Duo, I'd play in red but not splash. Kindle Spark Duo, no. Artist's Talent, that actually could be good with the green spells, the Longstalk Brawl and Polywallop, since fight and bite spells deal non-combat damage. So Artist's Talent could still be fine as a splash if I'm playing green. So these would be the cards. As long as I'm playing green, I would consider splashing Artist's Talent. I'm not sure if my green and red together are strong enough. So these are the cards that I would consider splashing in red. Looking at our green, with all the splashing we're thinking of doing, green has to be one of our main colors. We definitely don't want stocking the pantry. Treetop Sentries, one of could be fine to have a reach blocker. We might play both if we don't splash blue for the card draw. I think green is one of our stronger colors, so having it as one of the main colors, and we need it to be one of the main colors if we're thinking of all the splashing we're thinking of doing. So we need 3-tree, Root Weaver, and Heap Harvest for sure. But these are the cards in green I'd consider playing. We do have a decent amount of removal in green too. And removal is important in sealed because you need to be able to remove the opponent's bombs. All right. And then looking at our colorless and multicolor cards. Depending on how much splashing we are doing, we're playing both copies of Hidden Grotto, but I think at least one makes the cut. I think Fountain Port makes the cut. Alania, I don't think is particularly splashable. For one thing, either blue or red would have to be one of the main colors of the deck, I think, to make splashing viable. And she does have a powerful effect, but letting your opponent draw a card is a pretty big drawback, even if it means you get to copy the spell. So I'm not sure about Alania Divergent Storm. Veteran Guardmouse is not a splashable card. Mind Drill Assailant, no. Corpseberry Cultivator, I wouldn't splash, but I would play as a green card, since as long as you can enable it, it can get to be a sizable threat. And as 17 Lands has shown in their skeleton deck building video, creatures in Bloomburrow tend to be fairly small, and the range of power and toughness sizes is pretty narrow. So having something that can turn into a big threat could be useful. So could play Corpseberry Cultivator. Don't think we play Heirloom Epic. Tidecaller Mentor could be splashable as long as one of the colors we're in besides green is either blue or black. I think we were looking at splashing the most blue cards. So there's something to be said for that. So we'll leave it in for now. And Ral, Crackling Wit, kind of the same as Alania. You want to have one of your primary colors be either blue or red to splash Ral. Is Ral worth a splash? Planeswalkers can be hard to interact with in Limited because there are only a few spells that get rid of them, but you need to be able to protect them. And Ral, honestly, isn't the greatest at protecting himself. His +1 ability only creates 1/1 otter creature tokens. They do make Pearl of Wisdom better if Ral's in the deck, because he makes otters consistently. Casting non-creature spells does help with Ral, because you can keep his loyalty high as long as you're casting spells. So that's pretty nice. His -3 is useful. Card draw is always good. Having to discard 2 cards is a bit of a drawback, but it's better than nothing. And if you can get to the -10, you're in pretty good shape. Although I think that is difficult even with Ral's passive ability. Mind you, a content creator I watched played a blue-red deck in draft with Ral and got to activate his ultimate ability twice. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. I think Ral would be worth splashing if I'm in blue or red as one of my other primary colors. So these are the cards that I would consider out of colorless and multicolored to play in the deck, and the colorless lands. There is a lot of tinkering around that I have to do. So I think what I'm going to do is rather subject you to what I'm sure will be a boring process of deck building. I'm going to do that off camera and then show you the finished product. So see you in a bit with the finished deck. Okay. So this is what I settled on. There were a lot of choices, and I'm not sure if this is the optimal build. It's base blue-green. We definitely need to be base green in order to play Heat Harvest and 3-tree Rootweaver. I cut the Longstalk Brawl just because a lot of our early creatures, except for Keen-Eyed Curator, are pretty small. And we do still have a lot of removal with Swords to Plowshares, Vanishing Light, Bumble Flowers Sharepot, 3 Polywops, Dire Downdraft, and Early Winter. I cut the scrolls that draw cards as we forge because I kept in the blue card draw, Portent of Calamity, Pearl of Wisdom, and the 2 Mind Spirals. And then we're splashing Swords to Plowshares, Vanishing Light, and Early Winter as the removal. So we're splashing our removal. I decided not to splash red. This is already pretty ambitious, splashing 2 colors. I could have considered Artist's Talent since I do have a lot of non-creature spells. But I think the talents you really want to be able to get down early to get the most benefit from them. And if we're not playing Artist's Talent until late, we're not making the best of it, I don't think. And one of the key thing you want Artist's Talent down for early is for the card selection. On the first level, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. And we already have plenty of card advantage in actual card advantage or card selection with Shoreline Looter and the other blue draw spells. The second level is useful, but we're playing all 17 lands and we do have some ramp, so it's not quite as necessary. And the third level only works with our Polywallop. So I don't think that's enough reason to play Artist's Talent and to keep us from being too over the top in our splashing. Anyway, so we are splashing some removal, which I think is important. Hopefully our mana base isn't going to hurt us too much. We'll probably be surprised how many times we have our 1-planes in our opening hand. I'm not playing any black sources for early winter. It's the only black card I'm splashing, so I should be fine with 1, 2, 3, 4 ways of splashing a black card. And worst comes to worst, I can always make a treasure with Fountain Port. I am playing 1-planes just so there's a better chance of being able to cast Swords to Plowshares early and cast it for 1 mana rather than, say, having to spend 2 mana with a Hidden Grotto. So this is what we're going to try. I have to admit, I'm not sure how well things are going to go with this deck, but you have to make the most of what you've been given. And I think that this has the best cards in my pool and works the best in a sealed environment with lots of removal and card draw. And I think that's what you want. So this is what we're going with. Anyway, we'll try it out. We'll see how we do. And see you in the matches. Okay, we're on the draw, which is kind of unfortunate. Even in sealed, as in draft, being on the play is a distinct advantage, especially in Bloomburrow. Don't have any forests, so that's kind of bad. On the other hand, I do have 3 lands, and 3 of my spells in hand are blue. And both Shoreline Looter and Pearl of Wisdom can help me find green. So I think we keep this. You don't really want to mulligan if you can help it. And I think this is good enough. So we'll try it. Draw a Polywallop. Opponent leads with Lilypad Village. So opponent is also playing blue. Opponent also playing blue-green. So something of a mirror match. Bellowing Crier. Opponent discards a land. We draw a Mind Whisker. Hopefully opponent doesn't remove my Shoreline Looter, because I definitely like to get a hit in with it. Opponent should have just attacked with the Bellowing Crier, because it can't block. Alright. I think we play Pearl of Wisdom over Mind Whisker. Although, having the Surveil trigger could be useful, and having another body on the board could be good too. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't attack with the Bellowing Crier. But I'll take it. Oh, looks like opponent has something to do at instant speed. I think Dire Shoreline Looter is good enough to redraw. Let's see, I won't have to discard if I play Pearl of Wisdom because I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's Pearl of Wisdom here. I don't mind taking 2 from the Bellowing Crier. Draw another green card that we can't cast. An opponent did have to use a Dire Downdraft to balance the Shoreline Looter, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Opponent plays 3-tree Root Weaver, so they might also be splashing. Patchwork Banner. That's probably my most efficient play. It's that or Mind Whisker. Patrick Banner allows me to play my green card, so I think that's the pick. And then if I name Rat, that pumps both Mind Whisker and Shoreline Looter. And Shoreline Looter, being a unblockable 2/2, is so much better than being an unblockable 1/1. So I think Patchwork Banner is the play here, and we'll name Rat. It resolves, so opponent doesn't seem to have Dazzling Denial, for which I am profoundly grateful. Opponent does have 6 mana to my 4, so kind of hoping I draw a land. Alright, opponent doesn't have anything to ramp into with 3-tree Root Weaver. Yeah, that's a pretty strong play. Vanishing Light. There's not anything that I particularly want to banish here. I'm gonna have to take hits from Sticky Tongue Sentinel at least until I can Polywallop it, I guess. I think it's 3-tree Root Weaver and Shoreline Looter. Opponent's tapped out. We've still been missing land drops, but at least we've had drawn our ramp cards, Patchwork Banner and 3-tree Root Weaver, so it hasn't been hurting us too much. Drawing a land would be great. If I could play, say, a 4-drop, opponent Offspring's Finch Formation, so they're going to get a hit us for 5, and they have flyers. Hidden Grotto. Land is good. A forest. Honestly, wouldn't mind drawing another land. Alright, what to discard? Could be Baker's Bane Duo. It doesn't block Sticky Tongue Sentinel. Doesn't block the flyers. I can block Bellowing Crier with 3-tree Root Weaver, as long as I don't tap it. So let's drop that. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. I am at 10. And I think we hold up Dire Downdraft to bounce the Finch token. Could be at the point where I'm willing to trade Mind Whisker for the Sticky Tongue Sentinel. Mind Whisker also helps me get to Threshold faster. Opponent draws a land. 2 cards in hand. Moves to attackers. Alright. I think we do have to block the Sticky Tongue Sentinel with the Mind Whisker. My life total is low enough that I think we make this trade. We do have more cards in hand, and we have Shoreline Looter. Alright. Doesn't look like opponent has anything to do at instant speed, so let's bounce the token. Oh, I spoke too soon. Alright. Well, that was a bit annoying, but on the bright side, opponent had to give me a card, so... Opponent does have a lot of flyers. Hivespine Wolverine can kill their 1/1 flyer. Still need removal for their other flyers. I think we ditch this forest. Alright, we'll ditch the island instead. And we have 7 mana, so I can Polywallop and Banishing Light. Opponent's tapped out, has no cards in hand. So if I use Polywallop and tap out, opponent can hit me for 4. We do have some food with Bumbleflower's Share Pot. Alright. Alright, we'll see what opponent has. No response, so that worked out. Okay. Alright, we'll discard a land. We've also enabled Threshold for our Shoreline Looter, so now we're just going to draw cards. So I think we're in a pretty strong position here. Let's play Hivespine Wolverine and hold up Plumecreed Escort. We'll kill the flyer. I think I like holding up Plume Creed Escort. Opponent draws a land. Opponent has definitely flooded out. That's where Shoreline Looter has come in really handy for us because we've discarded 2 lands that we would otherwise would have drawn and not drawn action in their place. Draw a land. Alright, I don't think we use Bumbleflower Share Pot on a 3-tree Root Weaver. Okay. Opponent draws a land. So they flooded out. Lucky for us. So we staved off their early Flyer's aggression with our removal. Draw another land, so now we're flooding. Anyway, nothing opponent can do, so I think we blow up the 3-tree Root Weaver and end the game here. Yeah. Alright, well, we're off to a good start. Let's see how things continue to go. Okay, we're on the play. We only have 2 lands, and we have 2 white spells in hand. But we do have Baker's Bane Duo, 3 spells we can cast, and Heaped Harvest fixes us for white. Both Baker's Bane Duo and Heaped Harvest work well with our Corpseberry Cultivator. So I think we keep this. We just need to draw a land in our next 2 draw steps. Three-tree Root Weaver would be acceptable as well. There's our 3rd land. Excellent. Opponent on green. No surprise there. I'm sure a lot of the sealed pools, green is probably the strongest color in Bloomburrow, so it's quite deep at common and uncommon. So expect to see a lot of green decks, in sealed. Alright, so I think it's Heaped Harvest next turn, so we can get our white source for Banishing Light and Swords to Plowshares. Opponent on green-white. Okay, drawing another land. I mean, I do need to hit my land drops, but with the cards I have in hand and having a Heaped Harvest, land probably not what I needed. We're probably going to be taking, well, opponent will only have 3 mana, so they won't be able to enable Expend 4, so they might not have an attack on their turn. We can't play Corpseberry Cultivator anyway. Maybe we're getting a green source first, so we can play Corpseberry Cultivator, and then sacrifice the Heaped Harvest to get a white source. I think that's what we do. No attacks. I don't want to trade 2 damage for 3 damage. And who knows, if we draw planes, we can play Corpseberry Cultivator and hold up Swords to Plowshares. Wouldn't mind drawing a 2-drop, so I can expend 4, hop to it. If opponent attacks with the Bark Knuckle Boxer, I'll trade. I doubt they do. Alright, we do draw a 2-drop, and it's 3-tree Root Reaver. I think we hold Baker's Bane Duo back, otherwise it just trades for 2 1/1s, although that might honestly not be that bad. Opponent 3 colors as well, so they could be playing Balin the Haymaker, in which case maybe I did want to try and trade for 2 tokens. Oh, and I should have played Corpseberry Cultivator before combat. That was a mistake. Hopefully that doesn't end up costing me. Opponent 4 mana. It also means we won't be able to play our white spells next turn, so that was actually a pretty big mistake there. You usually do want to play your spell second main after combat, but we really should have played the Corpseberry Cultivator first. Because now it means we're going to take a hit from Bark Knuckle Boxer, and we don't have removal for Star Charter on our turn. Alright, Polywallop. Opponent's tapped out. Alright, now we'll get our planes, which we should have done last turn. Would have also thinned out the deck, although we did draw a spell. I think we're still holding back. And I think we Polywallop while opponent's tapped out. We want to get rid of their flyer. Mind you, that we expended might have been a reason to wait until opponent's turn, but it would have been bad if they'd had a Crumb and Get It or Overprotect up. So I think it was still fine to do that. Opponent has their own Polywallop. Alright, don't mind eating a token. And yeah, that could have been avoided if I'd played Cultivator first main like I was supposed to, and had my white source available a turn earlier, because then I could have had 3-tree Root Reaver in play, able to tap for mana, and Swords to Plowshares up, so I could have exiled their Bark Knuckle Boxer in response to Polywallop. Alright, I think we want a card draw spell. Opponent does have 4 cards in hand. They have been missing lands, so they have all spells. At least we're getting Pearl of Wisdom for some card draw next turn. Do I remove Bark-Knuckled Boxer now? I think we wait. And hopefully they try to play like another expensive spell. And then we can exile the Bark-Knuckle Boxer. Or, of course, if they play something like Balin, we can exile Balin instead. Hop to it. Well, our Hivespine Wolverine's going to be pretty nice. I don't think we swords the Bark-Knuckled Boxer. My Corpseberry Cultivator is dead, so I have no reason to hold on to the food, so I think we just sacrifice it to use some of our mana. We have double green spells. Oh, we can even cast Hivespine Wolverine. Could be nice to put a +1/+1 counter on something, but I think we want to kill a token with the Hivespine Wolverine. Now we are shields down on Swords to Plowshares. Opponent does have a Banishing Light, which we can get rid of with our own Banishing Light. Patchwork Banner, eh? Alright, I think I want to pump up the Hivespine Wolverine. Could have also saved it for the Rust Shield Rampager. But making this bigger, I think, to make it a good blocker, I think is probably the best move. Opponent finally draws a land, although I think they've drawn a land 2 turns in a row. So we're not that further behind on spells as we were before. Oh, I should have waited until they resolved. That was a mistake. I think I've really been playing loose here. Yeah, I think I really misplayed this with the swords to plowshares and then not getting my white swords earlier. Bumbleflower's share pot can let me destroy the Vanishing Light, so that would be a good draw. And I definitely have all the mana I need to play it. Also give me another food token, which I could definitely use. Alright. Opponent gained a bunch of life. Alright, Polywallop. Not a great draw, it's kind of overkill. On the bright side, I can use it to kill a big creature. It costs 4 for expend. Alright, Jolly Gerbils. Alright. I think I have to Polywall it now. So we get the fish, and they don't draw a card off Jolly Gerbils, so that was good. That was a blowout in our favor for once. And we get a fish. Alright, opponent. We're down to 1. We could really use that share pot. Alright, Keen-Eyed Curator. One is not 0. Could use Shoreline Looter would be great. Uh-oh, Life Creed Duo is a problem because I don't have a way to answer flyers right now. Oh, it's got to be different types. What do I have exiled? Creature and sorcery. Alright, Bumbleflower Share Pot. Okay, let's see now. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Need 9 mana to play the Share Pot, activate it, and eat the food. Alright. Given our position, I think we have to be aggressive. We've got opponent down to 10. We have food, so we go up to 4. We have 4 blockers. Oh, there's Balin. I had kind of figured with their mana that they had Balin, and indeed they do. Have to eat our food. Alright, opponent holding priority for Balin's ability. Now, let's see here. We've got 6, 13, 14, 15, 19, 20, 22. If we can expend, that's 23. Alright. I think this could win us the game. We draw 3 cards. We tap Balin. We also expend for Baker's Vein Duo. Opponent can't afford to activate Balin. They don't need the mana. Drawing a card means they have no blockers. Alright, so let's see. Block. Block. They're still taking 1, 5, 6, 7, 14. Well. Despite our misplays, we still managed to get there. Alright, well that was lucky. Timely Mind Spiral. Top deck won that top deck war. On to the next one. So we're on the draw again. I think this is a keepable hand. We have a turn 2 play. With Hidden Grotto, we have all our colors, although our off-color spells, splash spells, I should say, will be more expensive with Hidden Grotto. But it's 3 lands, so we can play Dire Downdraft on an attacking or tapped creature. We're 1 land from Polywallop, which also lets us expend for Baker's Bane Duo. And we have Hivespine Wolverine, which is a good value card. So I think we keep this. I think I'll lead with Hidden Grotto, Portent of Calamity. Alright, that'll be good late. Once again, we see opponent playing Forest. Like I was saying, I think I lead on Hidden Grotto and try and hit our land. Alright, there we go. Would have preferred a Forest, since I have double green cards. Thornvault Forager is pretty strong. Opponent is black-green. This could be a difficult matchup. Black-green is one of the best color pairs in blue. Our opponent is Sultai. Alright, so they ramp out a Treeguard Duo. That's pretty good. On the bright side, they didn't benefit from its Enter ability. So there's that. We drew another Polywallop. This could be a problem if they remove our Baker's Bane Duo, though, with 2 of our removal spells being Polywallop. Alright. Opponent keeps Treeguard Duo on top. So that's redraw. And they play Tender Wild Guide. Mind Spiral. Kind of would have preferred a land. Tender Wild Guide is going to be pretty good here. especially with Offspring if they replay the Tree Guard duo. We do 6 damage with Polywallop. So if they replay the Tree Guard duo, let's see, they'll have 4 creatures, so they can make that a 5/5 or that a 6/6. Opponent plays Glide Dive duo. I think we Polywallop end of turn. Alright, Forest is an excellent draw. That means we can play Hivespine Wolverine. And I think we use it to kill the Tender Wild Guide Offspring token. I feel a little bad. It is, after all, a cute little possum, baby possum, and I'm about to eat it with a Hivespine Wolverine. But it's going to get out of hand. Hivespine Wolverine is also a nice big threat for Polywallop. On this tapped out. Oh, what am I saying? They have Tender Wild Guides up. Uh-oh. Well, that was brutal. We got there. Opponent's down to 2 cards in hand. Shouldn't have attacked with the Baker's Bane duo. Yeah, unfortunately I think we got here. High Stride got us good. Well, yeah, I shouldn't have attacked with the Baker's Bane duo. I can hold up Polywallop. And I could kill the Tender Wild Guide. Can't block Tree Guard duo. Could block that Tender Wild Guide. Won't be able to sacrifice the food, so we're still taking possibly 5. Alright, well, I definitely misplayed. I think it was still correct to play the Hivespine Wolverine, but I should have been thinking more about the fact that opponents still had 2 mana open. And of course, opponent drew a spell. Alright. We could just be dead here. And we're dead here. Okay, good game. Well, that was unfortunate. On we go. Well, we keep having bad luck and being on the draw. I think we keep this hand. Can't cast Mind Whisker until 4 because our blue source is hidden Grotto. But we do have Banishing Light as reasonably early removal, Mind Spiral for card draw, and once we get Mind Whisker down, we'll start be able to get some card selection and put into the graveyard extra lands, that sort of thing. We'll try it. Again, I think we play Hidden Grotto on 1. Try to find a blue source. I think we ditch any land that isn't an island. We've got our only plains. A green spell would be nice. Alright, it's a forest. I think we ditched that. So good thing we surveilled there. Opponent with a Raccoon Rallier. We've rushed Shield Rampager. I think that might be our turn 4 play. So opponent red-white. They don't have a follow-up to the Rallier. Oh, they do. It's Carrot Cake. Okay, early winter. There's nothing I actively want to banish here. As much as I would love to get Rush Shield Rampager down with Offspring, I think we need it down on turn 4 as a blocker. Opponent sacrifices Carrot Cake. We're taking 3. Baker's Bane Duo. So we could play Baker's Bane Duo and Banishing Light next turn. If we draw an island, we can play Baker's Bane Duo and Mind Whisker next turn. Okay. So opponent could have Rabbit Response. Could be Crumb and Get It. Could be Maple's Metal. I think either any of those could be Sazakap's Brew or Valley Rally. I think any of those we can still block a token and our Rush Shield Rampager doesn't trade for the combat trick. So I think that's what we do. No, it's a Sonar Strike. Well, nothing we can do about that. Dire Downdraft. That would cost us 4 mana. I think to be efficient, we are going to have to play Banishing Light. Opponent, I think, has all spells in hand, which is unfortunate for us. I think we banish the Rallier, since that does threaten to trigger Valiant cards. Alright, Treasure actually not the worst. This'll down players. Alright, Keen-Eyed Curator. Can I get it into a 7/7 soon? Artifact, instant, creature, and land. So we can turn it into a 7/7. And white-red will have trouble removing a 7/7 from the board. Alright. I even have the mana to activate the Keen-Eyed Curator 4 times. Edelgard can blow up Banishing Light, although that's not the end of the world. Manifold Mouse. Alright, we can still block Thistledown players with Keen-Eyed Curator as long as we pump it up to a 7/7. I don't think we use Downdraft on the Manifold Mouse, because otherwise they can get it with Offspring. Alright. Could target a well, no, because we need to block the Thistledown players and buff the Curator. Okay, that's Artifact. That's instant. That's creature. And land. Alright, another land. Pretty useful here. Would have preferred an island. But hitting land is of any kind is fine. I think I want to draw that. So that we're not having to spend one extra on our blue spells. Can't afford to attack. I could early winter the Manifold Mouse. Could Mind Spiral. I think we hold up our instance. Alright, head to the homestead. So opponent is going wide. So the Hive Spine Wolverine would be a good draw. I think I get rid of the Nettle Guard so they can't get back another creature. Right now the only mouse they have, and now the only mouse they have to target with the Manifold Mouse is itself. Alright, so we can play Dire Downdraft if opponent attacks. And they do. Uh-oh. Are we just dead here? I think we're just dead here. Well, that was really frustrating. But what can you do? You usually don't see such good streamlined aggro decks in Sealed, but apparently opponent was playing Draft. Anyway, on we go. Alright, we're on the play. Once again, it's amazing how often we have our one copy of Plains in our opening hand. I have 3-tree, Root Weaver, Patchwork Banner, 6 islands, and 2 of the Hidden Grottos. So that's 10 draws that get me blue. And I have plenty of green cards. And I don't want to mulligan on the play. I do have a turn 2 play. So I think we're going to keep this. Polywallop not looking so great right now, since our only creature is 1/1. Opponent black. Alright. Fountain Port Bell. That would have actually been a pretty useful... We draw Portent of Calamity. Would have preferred a land. Hidden Grotto would do. Island would do. Alright, and we draw an island. That's perfect. Not sure how long our Shoreline Looter is going to last, given opponents playing black-white, but we'll see. Opponent hits their third land. Plays Daggerfang Duo. Alright, we drew Mind Spiral. I'm going to need to draw another land. Another land lets me cast Early Winter, well, not Early Winter, because my only black source in land form is Hidden Grotto, so I would need 6 mana. But that would let me cast Mind Spiral. Another land lets me cast Mind Spiral. I think we discard Portent of Calamity. I've got Mind Spiral. I have 2 Mind Spirals and a Pearl's Wisdom left. Could Polywallop the Daggerfang Duo? We'll leave it for now. I think I can afford to take 3. Hits their 4th land. Darkstar Augur with Offspring. The card advantage that that's going to provide is going to be a problem. I think we still Polywallop the Daggerfang Duo. Because that deals more damage. Alright, Baker's Bane Duo. Tree Root Weaver. I think it's Baker's Bane Duo that we discard here. And then, honestly, I think it's just blow up the 2/3 Darkstar Augur with our Bumbleflower Share Pot. Alright, opponent hits a 1-drop with their remaining Darkstar Augur. This is for 1. They hit their land. Oh, brutal. Of course they have Thoughtstalker Warlock. Well, at least I still have Mind Spiral. Plume Creed Escort, you say? So I could play 3-tree Root Weaver, hold up Plume Creed Escort. Alright, here I think it's Island we discard, because I want to keep Mind Spiral for card draw. Opponent hits land, that's really good. Plume Creed Escort also trades for the Augur. Alright, I think we flash in Plume Creed Escort and try and block the Augur. So I think we give it self-hexproof. Of course, opponent does have a full grip, so this might not work, but we'll just have to try. Alright, it does work. Well, that was too bad. But we got it out of their hand, so that's something to be said for that. Uh-oh. Now, of course, they have removal for my Shoreline Looter right when I've enabled Threshold. I think we draw 3, stun the Thoughtstalker Warlock. Alright, 3 lands is pretty much the worst possible draw. Skills of Shell also great because it lessens the effect of the Darkstar Augur. They hit another land, because of course they did. Opponent still has 20 cards. So we're not milling them out. They're going to kill us well before that, and I think they are going to kill us. Because of all the card draw they've got off Darkstar Augur. And the fact that they killed our Shoreline Looter. Because if we'd been drawing cards with our Shoreline Looter, I would say we still had a chance. Opponent does not attack. Plays Wick the World Mind. Need a Daggerfang Duo to put a +1/+1 counter on the snail. I'm surprised they didn't attack with the Darkstar Augur, although I guess they figured I might have had a combat trick. Do I eat the food? I think we can hold off on eating the food. Patchwork Banner. Could make it Raccoon. But Honestly, I think we make it we buff up the 3-tree Root Weaver so it has 2 power, so that it can block Daggerfang Duo, trade the Snail profitably, the Thoughtstalker Warlock. Alright, so we can eat the food. We also have 4 mana for Keen. Uh-oh. Just a second. No attacks. Opponent does have quite a wide board. And they hit Intrepid Rabbit. White's best common. Carrot Cake is apparently the best common according to 17 lands data, but it's gotta be Intrepid Rabbit. Warren Elder, they can buff. They can't if they play the Intrepid Rabbit this turn. So they do play the Intrepid Rabbit. Alright. Don't really want to trade my Keen-Eyed Curator for their Daggerfang duo. Opponent very kindly has all 4 card types to enable Keen-Eyed Curator. We draw a land. This is where Shoreline Looter would have come in very handy. Okay, let's see here. Are we dead? Opponent has 8 mana, so they can tap, pump Warren, use Warren Elder twice. So 3-tree Root Weaver can block a 1/1 without dying, but it doesn't trade for anything. Keen-Eyed Curator blocks Intrepid Rabbit. We're still taking, let's see, 3, 7, 12, 16, 20. Yeah, we're dead. Okay. Well, we went 2 and 3 in the Arena Open, which is definitely disappointing since we don't get any prizes for only 2 wins. But that's just how it goes sometimes. And that does show the limitations of sealed. I can't remember if I said good game, but I'm just going to say good game again anyway. If you don't open the right cards in your sealed pool, you can't really compete with the opponents who did open the right cards in their sealed pool. Anyway, maybe we could have built our deck better. It's hard to say. I think we wanted to maximize removal and card draw, and I think that's what we did as best we could. I think we played as many of our strongest cards as possible. So maybe there's something we could have done differently. There were definitely some times when we made some mistakes during gameplay. In one game, it didn't cost us. In another game, we might still have lost that game even if we hadn't made that mistake. That was attacking the Wild Guide token or whatever it was called with the Hive Spine Wolverine, and the opponent just completely pumped it up and played High Stride, and for 1 mana killed our Wolverine. That was a blowout. But I'm not sure, even if I instead put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature I control, I'm not sure if that would have saved us. We might still have lost that game just because opponent had that high stride and could use it to get us later. I don't know. Anyway, I had fun. The result wasn't what I hoped for, but what can you do? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if you thought there were any plays I should have made differently, or if I should have built the deck differently, let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.